This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you ain't never cheated or been cheated on, then take off your boots, you rhinestone fraud. And outlaw songs, hard time, foolish pride, done me wrong. Flirting with the devil, getting right with the man. Ain't men paint songs, one night stands. You can keep your picket fence fantasies and put a cork in your high school memories. This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you ain't never spent a single night in jail, then get another job and I'll see you in hell. I'm drawn like a moth through the neon lights. I need a bucket of beer and someone to fight. Don't call yourself country if your music is shitty, or this Carolina boy will take you down to Fifth City. You know who you are, I ain't gonna name names. Just keep your hands off my country and go back from where you came. My country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you ain't never done something you regret, well then I'm proud of you. Now get that pussified polish pops on piece of glorified nursery rhyme out of my face. Wintertime, springtime, summertime, autumn. Show me to the jukebox, you yoke 'em if you got 'em on. Country like Johnny, country like Merle, country like Loretta, that honky-tonk girl. Country like Towns, country like Travis. I'm a country fried junkie with a bad habit. Country like Chris, country like Gretchen. If you ain't cooking country, then get out of the kitchen. I'm a country like Hank, 1, 2, and 3. Drop it like peaches from the family tree. Country like women, whiskey and wheels. Yeah, I know it is country cause I know how it feels. Country like Willie, country like Willie. Country like lightning in a hillbilly. This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you can't sing along to tear in my beer, then don't forget your coat and get the fuck out of here.
What's going on, bourbon and fight fans, man? How you guys doing tonight? My name is Jeff. I'm your host of the show, Bourbon and Boxing. Like the name kind of says everything, bourbon. And we're going to talk some boxing, man. There's a lot of good news going on this week. We got 3 good main cards to start July off with. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about those fights, and we're also going to talk about all the news. And I want to talk about PBC's domination in the sport of boxing now, man. They seem to have all the big fighters, man. We're going to hit on that. But like I said, I'm going to share what I'm drinking with you guys tonight. I'm drinking a little bit of Knob Creek, 100 proof, 50%. This is really good stuff. I like it. It doesn't take a lot. But also remember to drink responsibly, man. Don't be an idiot out there drinking and driving. Be smart about what you do when you drink. Be me. Drink down in your basement and talk on a podcast. Can't get in trouble like that, right? Maybe with your wife if you say something stupid. But other than that, like I said, let's start this show off with a shot, man, to the very first episode, and hopefully many, many more episodes of Bourbon and Boxing, man. And anybody joining, thank you guys for joining us. And let's take this shot and then get into talking some boxing. Whoa. Whoa. All right. Whoa. I drank quite a bit yesterday. A little too much, as you can tell by one of my blooper videos I have on there. Hadn't drank in a couple weeks. Decided to buy the super good stuff, the real good bourbon. And about 4 shots in, I started getting a little tipsy. So, you know, I was trying to do a trailer video to kind of explain my show. All that fun stuff. And, man, honestly, it's a lot harder than what it looks, man, trying to get on here and not make mistakes and then not have to continuously record after a small mistake and all that funny, stupid shit. But anyways, man, like I said, let's get into talking boxing. I already had my last episode of the Sweet Science 365 last week where I talked about the fights last week. Actually, I had it Monday earlier this week. And then I talked about the fights last week with Berlanga, Quigley, Adames, and Williams also fighting. I talked about those, gave a couple shout-outs to a couple of the younger fighters on those cards. But this week, man, July is going to be a really, really good month for boxing, especially with one of the biggest fights of the year going to happen, if not the biggest, most anticipated fight in boxing, Spence and Crawford. I mean, we're going to get into that. And first, I want to talk about Canelo, his new deal with PBC, signing with them, and what that means for PBC, who was just, Showtime was just bought out by Paramount. And the big question was Paramount going to continue Showtime boxing? And Paramount had made a statement. Now, this was back in last year when I had read the article. And Paramount had made the statement that they're going to evaluate everything that shows on Showtime, and anything that doesn't hit a 30% mark, they were going to start to cut out. So far, seems like they've kept the boxing. There's no talk of them getting rid of Showtime boxing. I'd have to say it's probably doing a little bit better than what they might have anticipated, especially with PBC making the moves that they made, to go get Canelo and sign him to a 3-fight deal. He is the biggest boxer in boxing. So you just signed him. And you have Benavidez. And you have Caleb Plant. You have both Charlo brothers. I mean, they have Fundora. They have Brian Mendoza. This is Frank Martin, Spence, Garcia, or not Garcia, but, Javante Tank Davis. Honestly, I think right now PBC has the best stable in all of boxing. And that's better than Top Rank. Top Rank's really good in pretty much one division, the lightweight division. And then if they lose Teofimo Lopez, I don't know if they're the strongest. And then Devin Haney right now being a free agent. Let's go say he signs with Matchroom. If I'm Devin Haney, I might be taking a look at Showtime and PBC, see what they might have to offer me. I know him and Eddie Hearns are really good friends, and they have a really great relationship. And Hearns, as a promoter, man, it took a lot for him to let Haney go to Top Rank. But he showed a lot of unselfishness as far as, saying, hey, let this guy do what's best for him, not what is best for me. And you got to appreciate that with Eddie Hearns, man. I got a lot of respect for that guy. A lot of people call him a joke in boxing, but, man, this guy's just out here trying to do a job. You got clowns like Oscar De La Hoya, who always want to get on social. He's like the social media. He's Donald Trump when it comes to social media. He loves the attention. He's an attention seeker. I am not personally a fan of Oscar De La Hoya. I said it on my last show. I'm not going to hide that shit, man. I'm not a fan of him, and I don't normally like to bash guys. Oscar's boxing career speaks for itself. He was an incredible boxer. He's a Hall of Fame boxer. But outside of the ring and how he's presented himself as a promoter and Golden Boy has shown to be the new Don King of boxing. These guys, Oscar just didn't have his fighters back. And Ryan Garcia, when he lost, dipped on him and then started bashing him on social media not long after that. And, that says a lot about a promoter, man. You can't bash your guys and then go sue your guy for talking back to you, basically saying, hey, bullshit, and then calling you guys out and pretty much telling everybody what Golden Boy was about. And then now you guys want to pull a lawsuit on him. That's kind of, in my opinion, bitch made. Like, that's bitch made shit right there. You know what I mean? Like, there's low level, like, when you're just kind of a clown, and then Oscar out here saying what he had to say. All week, I'm not a big fan of Oscar, man. The way he acts on social media. You're a grown man, buddy. You're, 50 years old at this point? And you're out here acting like a teenager, talking so much smack. But I won't spend a lot of time on Oscar and what he does. But like I said, I like what Eddie Hearns does. He does a lot with Matchroom. UK's putting on some really good fights this weekend that, I'm not going to miss out on. I'll talk about those coming up. Like I said, July is going to start out with some really good fights. First day, July 1st, tomorrow. I mean, you got 3 good main card fights. Let me look on here. Of course, the one I'm looking most forward to is, I'm going to have to say, Big Baby Anderson's fight. Jared Anderson. Looking forward to seeing him. I'm from Ohio. I'm an Ohio guy, Cincinnati, Ohio. We represent a lot in boxing, Ohio does. And I give a shout out to all my Ohio boxers, man. I love them. I follow them. Jared Anderson, big guy. I think he's going to put on a show tomorrow against, I want to say, is it Charles Martin? Yeah, Charles Martin. He'll be fighting up in the Huntington Arena in Toledo, Ohio, man. Check that one out. That's going to be the nightcap for tomorrow. Then we're going to get to see Dalton Smith in the UK. UK is going to put on 2 fights. Now, they might cross over with each other. So in the States, you might have a little bit of trouble. I got to figure out, I didn't look, but I'll relook now, actually, where that, where the, God damn it, I know Dalton Smith is in the UK, and I know the Savannah Marshall fight is also over in the UK, but I need to find out if they're both going to be, who's showcasing what, like, trying to figure out what channel they're going to be on. Watching here, Franchon Cruz DeZern and Savannah Marshall is going to be on Sky Sports. So you'll get to watch that on ESPN. They're going to showcase that around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to say that's in the States, over here in the U.S., so we'll get to watch that fight at 2 p.m. But at the same time, the Zone is going to have on Dalton Smith and Sam Maxwell. That's going to be, it says check your local listings. I'm thinking about a 1 o'clock start time in the U.S. Yeah, that's going to be on the Zone. So check out those 2 fights. Now, for me, I like Dalton Smith a lot. Nice, good young fighter. And I think I like him a lot. I don't know much about Sam Maxwell. I'm going to have to check in on a little bit more about him, but I'm a big Dalton Smith fan. I think the Zone has a good young fighter there. I'd like to give young fighters shout-outs. That guy is definitely a guy I've watched a couple times, and I enjoy watching him fight. I think he comes out victorious tomorrow. We'll see how that goes, but like I said, you can check that. I'd say in the States, you're probably going to catch that on the Zone about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock start time on that. So you might have an issue with, the women's fight and the men's fight overcrossing with each other in the UK. I take the DeZern, God darn it, her name, so damn long. I get tired of trying to pronounce it. I try to just, DeZern and Marshall, that fight there, I call that my banger fight of the week, baby. That fight right there is going to be from the minute round 1 starts, that bell rings. These girls are going to go out there beating the crap out of each other. Mark my words on that. DeZern has absolutely expressed her hate for Marshall. The decision she got over her in the amateurs, and she still holds that, and that's going to be her grudge going into it. Both of these girls want to knock each other out. Savannah Marshall, I don't know if she's fought since Clarissa Shields, but if not, then she's coming off a loss against Clarissa Shields, so she'll definitely want to prove herself in the ring tomorrow. I think that's going to be a banger fight. Now, of course, I'll have both fights on. I'm just hoping that we can get some stagnated times, and one starts around 12 or 1 o'clock, and then the other starts around 2 p.m., which would be nice. And then that way I can get the end of the Dalton Smith fight. I almost said Leon Smith, but the Dalton Smith fight, I can get that fight, maybe that main card before the Savannah Marshall fight starts. I don't, with the Savannah Marshall fight, that's going to be a hard one, man. Francine, she's a tough veteran fighter, so that one, like I said, is going to be a banger. I call that my banger fight of the week. Banger, baby! That's what I call it. and I think those girls are going to come out fighting. I don't have a dog in that fight. I just think it's going to be a really good one to watch, and I don't want to miss it. I don't know who is on the undercards on those. I'll have to check them out, or you'll have to check that out when you watch them tomorrow. But like I said, you'll catch one on the zone, and like I said, hopefully the UK stagnates that time, and you can get a 1 o'clock start time for the Dalton Smith undercard, and then a 2 o'clock start time on ESPN for the Savannah Marshall undercard. Franchine and Savannah Marshall undercard. That fight, but then the nightcap is going to be, Jarrett Big Baby Anderson versus Charles Martin, and I really expect Anderson to come out and just put on a show. He's at home, and they say there's a lot of pressure fighting at home. I get that, but I don't think that's going to bother Jarrett. I think he's going to come out and he's going to have a hell of a fight against Charles Martin. I'm pretty 100% sure I've seen Charles Martin fight a couple times. I don't think he's a threat to Jarrett. Do you take him lightly? No, you never go in taking any fighter lightly. But I think Jarrett is going to come out, man. He's a heavy puncher, man. He comes out from the beginning of the round, and he comes out attacking. He really doesn't hold back. He doesn't try to learn his guys, and that could hurt him down the road. But at this point in his career, it seems to not hurt him. So I don't, if they say it's not broke, don't fix it. What works for him, may not work for somebody else. Every fighter is a little different, man. But like I said, those 3 fights are going to start July off to be a banger month, man. And we got a really good month lined up, really good July lined up with some really good fights. Like I said, Spence and Crawford. I'm taking Crawford in that fight. I think he's a better switch hitter. Like, he can switch it up a lot faster. He adjusts a lot better in fights than I think Spence does. Spence obviously throws more punches. There's no denying that. And I don't know if Crawford's ever had a guy come out and throw 60, 70 punches around, and how he would handle that with a guy like Spence. But I think the way, as smart as Crawford is, man, he's a great counter puncher. He's a great switch, and he can adapt at any time, man. He can switch from that orthodox to that southpaw, or to that southpaw really easily, and that makes it rough for fighters. Like, you'll see him in the middle of a fight, right in the middle of being attacked, switch his stance and adjust, and that to me is what really makes Crawford stand out from a lot of these other guys, and what has me, that's what puts him at my top pound for pound fighter, honestly, because he's a lot smarter than what people give him credit for. They claim he hasn't fought anybody. But, I mean, if you're in there and you're a professional and you're fighting right now, at this point in his career, everybody he's fighting is another professional fighter who's had plenty of experience under his belt. So to say any fighter that's 20, 25, 30 fights in, hasn't fought anybody, that's bullcock, man. That's people that just don't know boxing, and then they want to claim a guy hasn't fought anybody. And, you know what I mean? And, he hasn't fought anybody. If you're a professional fighter 30 fights in, trust me, you have fought good, tough, professional fighters. You're past that 5, 6, 7 first fights of your career where they baby you in. They put a couple veteran, what do they call them over in the UK, like henchmen, whatever they call them, journeymen, where these guys come in, and they just basically get paid to get beat up and, put a little bit of pressure on a young fighter, teach them what it's like to go up against a vet, get some good rounds in for your young guy who might come out, his first 2 or 3 fights and just knocking people out and only getting 4, 5, 6 round fights, 7 round, 8 round fights. So, you got to build these guys up. So, of course, when you start out like that, but once you get to where you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 plus fights in, there is no easy fight. These guys are professional. Trust me, if you're not a fighter, go in there and try to fight these guys who you claim are not that good, and see how long you would actually last against them. And you'll find out these guys are a lot better than what you think. It's like talking shit about a guy who rides the bench in the NBA. That guy would terrorize you on the basketball court. If you're not a professional player, that guy sitting on the bench in the NBA, he's 10 times better than you could ever imagine. That guy sitting on the bench in the NFL is better than what you could ever imagine. You know what I mean? So when you get to that certain point of boxing, it's not an easy fight, no matter if we think that guy hasn't won a lot or he's not that good. But you're 30 fights in, trust me, the guy you're fighting isn't easy. You're 25 fights in. That guy's tough. 20 fights in. You start, it's just like anything, man. The higher you get, the more fights you get, the harder it gets, man. And the more styles you meet and everything like that. And there's always that young, hungry guy, man. There's always that guy that surprises everybody when you got that young, up-and-coming guy and he's 20 fights in and everybody's like, oh, my God, this guy's amazing. And then he goes up against, like, a tough vet. And that vet pretty much puts it on him and, and then exposes the guy. But that's boxing, man. You can baby your guy 6-7 fights, but after that, it's going to start, you're going to upgrade. I think, like, for Nico Ali Wash, I really feel like Top Rank has babied him too much. You saw it in his last fight, and I haven't really seen him. To me, he hasn't grown as a fighter. I haven't seen him progress like I like to see young fighters do. I like to see him slowly make adjustments each fight, learn something new, showcase something new each fight so that we can kind of see that growth in him. Ali, I haven't seen that. He seems to pretty much try to land those big punches, live on those big punches, and he doesn't really outbox his guy, and his defense isn't that great. He takes too many big punches. I'd like to see him start getting better with the step back, fighting backwards, and just putting a little bit more combination and technique into his style, and let the power come. If you got the power, it's there, and it's gonna move with your technique and your style. That power is always gonna be there. Just got to learn how to set it up, and then release it whenever you need to. That's where the great fighters become. That's when great fighters are great fighters. You know what I mean? So, oh goodness, got a cramp in my side here. Woo! That's what happens when I'm sitting in a chair. I'm trying to slowly get my room going here. See, that's how you know this is some real shit, bro. Like, I just got a side cramp. Woo! But anyways, I wanted to get into PBC, and they're pretty much there, starting to dominate the sport of boxing. Top Rank was there for a minute with all the lightweights, Devin Haney, having Lomachenko, having Lopez and Taylor and Ramirez and all these big names that they have at lightweight. And they've got some other good fighters in their other stables, but they were pretty much heavy in that lightweight. Shakur, Stevenson, I can't forget that guy. To me, he's the best in that entire stable going down. But now Devin Haney is a free agent, and I haven't heard anything about where he's actually talked about going, where he wants to sign with. There's been really no talk on his part. Pretty quiet on his camp. I thought as soon as he was done with Top Rank that he would eagerly go back with Eddie Hearn, but so far I haven't seen that. Where he signed is going to be a big deal, man. That guy he's a unified champ. And the question is does he stay at 135 where he kind of struggles to make that weight, or does he go ahead and move up to 140? And there's a lot of good competition at 140 just depending on where he signs. I think PBC has a great stable at 140. A couple guys that he can fight there. Matchroom has Regis, Prograde, of course Montana Love, Jack Catterall, those guys in there. They got Ryan Garcia. He can go and fight those guys, but that's not Lopez, or it's not. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest fight for him right now, everybody thinks it would be Tank Davis. I think the biggest fight for him would be to move to 140 and fight Teofimo Lopez. So that would possibly mean signing back with Top Rank. And if he does so, Top Rank's not just going to let him sign a one-fight deal and then jump ship. They're obviously going to make him sign a 2 or 3 fight deal with them. Lopez being on that. But then outside of Lopez, who's he going to fight after that? You're going to get Ramirez. I like him. Or actually, I'm wrong. Shakur Stevenson, who I think, he fights Lopez. That fight right there is a 50-50 fight. Lopez's power gives him the absolute edge. People underestimate how good Haney really is, man. Look what he did against Loma. He went in and he did something nobody has really ever thought about doing, and that's going to Loma's body. It shows you how smart Devin Haney, his father, and their team are. You want to think this guy's just, out there dancing around and playing defense like Floyd Mayweather. No, this dude is an offensive and defensive fighter. He's extremely smart, and he showed that in the Loma fight, which, like I said, these guys went back each round. It was so hard to judge that fight, and it could have went either way, but I lean more towards Haney just for the fact of how he attacked the body, and Loma looks really busy because he punches. He throws 2 or 3 punches at a time. He doesn't just throw a jab, step back, 1, 2. That's not Loma. Loma's going to throw punches and bunches. He's going to attack you. He's going to come at you. He's going to counter you. He's going to pivot and, get behind you. He's a very technical fighter. His footwork makes him look busier than what he actually is, and that's where a lot of fans who don't watch the sport maybe don't understand that part of it, that a guy can move a lot with his feet and look like he's extremely busy, more busier than what he may be, and may make him look like the more active fighter, the fighter landing the more punches. And he did land good, solid punches on Haney, don't get me wrong, and that fight could have easily been a draw. Could have easily been a draw. It could have easily went to Loma. It could have easily went, it went to Haney. It was a 50-50 fight. That's what I called it going in. I told everybody, these guys are so much alike. So much. They're both technical fighters with no power, right? Neither had power. So we know that Loma wasn't going to go in there and knock out anybody. And we know Haney wasn't going to go in knocking anybody out. We knew that. So going into that fight, we automatically knew it was more of a technical IQ type of fight. Who was going to outsmart who? And to me, Haney outsmarted Loma for the fact that he went and did something other fighters hadn't figured out, hadn't thought of. Because of Loma's size, making him a smaller fighter, a lot of guys are just going to go for headshots with Loma and not go to the body because it's too much risk to go down and inside on a guy like Loma who's really fast, technical, and quick and can counter and land 3 or 4 punches at a time on you before you even know it. You know what I mean? Before you even realize they land, just because you wanted to go for a body punch on him. But with Haney being the bigger fighter, with the bigger reach, he was able to go down, get inside on him, and get back out without Loma being able to land more than 1 or 2 punches at a time on him, or without him having to take too many punches from Loma, inside out. And I praise Haney for that. And right now, I think in boxing, he is one of the most underestimated boxers out there. People really underestimate him. Think he's just, because he doesn't have power and he's not knocking people out. So people automatically think, well, he's not a good fighter. He's not exciting. He really is. If you like the sweet science of the sport, then you love Haney. You know what I mean? If you love the sweet science of the sport, then you love that technical aspect of it, of the sport, like I do. I love a good technical fighter. I can watch 12 rounds of boxing with guys just beating the crap out of each other, or technically just going back and forth. That's entertaining to me. A lot of guys, some guys, they don't like that. They just want to see guys get in there. They want to see a first round, second round, third round knockout. I want to get my money's worth, first off. I want to see 2 guys go in and really learn each other and each round had to figure something new out. That's what makes boxing, man, is you can't use your legs. You can't take a guy to the ground. You can't put him in a headlock. You can't DDT anybody. You can't take him off the top rope and boom. That's not boxing, man. You have to use 2 hands, your feet, and outsmart the guy in front of you. And that's what makes me, and in my opinion, boxing the best combat sport out there. Now, my MMA guys, calm down. I know you're probably blowing your gasket right now. Chill out. It's cool. I get it. MMA is awesome. I don't know shit about MMA. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know shit about MMA. My cousin, who I'm going to try to get to do the show once a month with me, I'm going to try to get him, my cousin Jason, to come in and give you guys an MMA side of it. I don't know anything about MMA, and I'm not going to pretend to know it. You know, I mean, I've been watching boxing and been, you know, part of boxing since I was a kid. You know, literally since I was 6, 7 years old. You know what I mean? And fighting has always kind of been a big part of my life. So boxing, I've understood, man, something about it clicks to me. When I watch fights, I break them down as I watch them. You know, I do, you know, a few pay-per-views a year. And I used to invite people over to watch them with me. Now I'm like, fuck that, because I don't get to watch the fights. Everybody's talking, and we go outside, we're smoking, we're drinking, we're bullshitting. And don't get me wrong, that shit's fun. But for me as a boxing fan, I'm actually there to watch those fights, man. I want to see the undercard fights. I want to see the main card. All that is interesting to me because, you know, I mean, that's shit that I love. So now when I do it, I kind of secretly do it and just watch it my damn self because, call me selfish, but I want to watch those fights. I want to break them down. And I want to come on here and talk with them with you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, have a talk with you guys about it and break it down for you. But like I was saying, PBC and their stable, I mean, I feel like they're taking over boxing. I mean, God, Canelo, both Charlo brothers, Benavidez, Caleb Plant. I think they got Demetrius Andrade now. God, who else they got? They got Fundora. They got Mendoza. I mean, I know I'm missing Frank Martin, Spence. I know I'm missing quite a few guys that are now in that PBC stable. And adding Canelo was like the icing on the cake for them. I know they're celebrating this, man. And now it's all talks about, we got the Charlo fight set up for September. Who is the second fight? You got Adames coming out saying, hey, I have to be the second guy. I have to be next in line. I don't agree with that. I like Adames, but I don't think he's proved enough to say, I'm the next guy. I can, you know, I should be next. I honestly think it's got to, in my opinion, it's got to be Benavidez. Benavidez, even though that's the most dangerous fight for Canelo at this point, and I think he knows that right now. I think he knows Benavidez's size is big, and he's a hard puncher. So I don't know if he wants to take that fight. He would probably take an Adames fight for sure, or a Demetrius Andrade fight over Benavidez. He can't, in my opinion, he's not going to be able to. If you're PBC or you're Showtime, you're making sure, in my opinion, this is what I'm going to try to do. If I was PBC, you could make 3 blockbuster fights with Canelo Alvarez, and he can do 1 or 2 things. He can cement his career and beat 3 of the best in the sport, and then walk the fuck away, man, because there would be nothing else for him to prove, in my opinion, at that point. Beat Charlo in September. Match him up with Benavidez. And I don't know when you do that. Probably the beginning of the year, because he always likes to fight in May. So you want to set that second fight up, either Benavidez in May, and you know he pretty much sets out almost a year, or you go ahead and set that fight up early in the year, January, and then you set the Spence and Canelo fight up. Spence and Canelo. So I think Charlo, Benavidez, and Spence had to be the 3 fights for him, in my opinion, because Spence obviously is a big 147. He can move up easily. They could find a catch weight for that fight, and he can easily come up, in my opinion. And money-wise, that right there is the biggest fight. Adames he's a good fighter. He's not a big name. So he doesn't have anything to offer Canelo. Okay, he doesn't, you know, he is a champion. He's got that. But outside of that belt, he doesn't, and that could be the only reason Spence wants to, or Canelo would want to fight him. But Spence also has belts, so you're going to get that from him. Benavidez has a belt. You can get that from him. Charlo has a lot of belts. You can get those from him. So you got 3 guys, the 3 biggest in that stable that he could fight, that I think if you're PBC, you have to line all 3 of those up. And then, God, think about this. They started out the year, PBC, giving everybody the Benavidez versus Caleb Plant fight. big blockbuster fight that started the year rolling. Then in April, they gave us the Tank versus Garcia fight. I mean, the second biggest blockbuster fight of the year. Then they turn around and are going to give us the Crawford and Spence fight, the third biggest fight of the year. All right? And then they're going to turn around and give us Canelo and Charlo in September, a fourth mega fight. PBC is going to take over everything. 4 mega fights this year on one channel, man. One channel. And I'm blown away. I am super impressed with what PBC is doing. Glad I got Showtime, and I gladly pay. The pay-per-view is reasonable. Big fights like that, man. I'm a huge boxing fan. I'm going to deal out the money for it. I don't care. That's what I'm going to do, because that's what I like to do. I love to watch those fights. Let's take a small little break. I'm going to get me a shot here. Pour me a little shot. I should probably leave my top open, but I'm in this basement. Who the hell knows what's going to try to crawl into my liquor and get itself drunk. But I am not supposed to be getting super drunk tonight. I got shit face last night. Like I said, I haven't drank in a couple weeks. Remember, drink responsibly. Don't be an idiot out drinking and driving. Be like me. Drink in your basement. By yourself, obviously, right? Weird. But hey, don't judge me. Don't judge me. But anyways, man, midway through our first episode of Bourbon and Boxing. We've done a lot of talking already about what's going on in boxing, the news and everything like that. Take this shot, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Deontay Wilder. All right? Let's take a shot together, man. 1, 2, 3. Man, I'll tell you. You feel that shit going down. Like, you feel it going down inside of you. And it burns. All right? But I heard an interview. I'd read an article early. Probably not too early in the week. Midweek, Wednesday. They were talking about Andy Ruiz turning down the fight against Wilder. He said he outpriced himself. He wants 50-50 for that fight against Wilder. Number one, Andy Ruiz doesn't have a promoter. I was pretty sure he was dropped by PBC, and he is now a free agent. He held the belt as long as Buster Douglas did, and that's what I call Andy Ruiz, is the Buster Douglas. He is not the A side of any fight. He is not a 50-50 fight, and that's why nobody has signed a fight with him. Fury said the same thing, that he asked for a ridiculous amount of money, and that's why that fight didn't happen. Number one, you're going to get knocked out by Fury, and you're going to get knocked out by Deontay Wilder. So you should just go ahead and take that ass whooping like a man. Go out there and get paid 30% of that, and be happy with it. I know Ruiz is probably trying to land one more big solid fight, right? He's not going to get another Anthony Joshua moment. I don't see him knocking, and I don't see it. He's not going to knock Deontay Wilder. I'll say it right here, right now. Put it on date, write it on a pencil, put it in your bookmark, whatever the hell you want to do. But take what I say right now. He ain't beating Deontay Wilder. He's not on that level. I had a guy trying to argue with me that Wilder was crazy not to give him what he wanted. And I'm like, why the fuck would he? What the fuck does Ruiz bring to the table? He doesn't have a belt. Dante is a former champion and has held the belts, and defended his belt plenty of times. Ruiz won the belt one fucking time in his life, defended it, and lost the belt. Like, what about that makes him think, I'm this big-time fighter, people want to see me fight? I can go out there right now and question 10 motherfuckers walking down the street, who is Andy Ruiz, and not one of them will know who he is. I can guarantee that. But if I go out and I question 10 people and I say, who is Deontay Wilder? one, maybe two of those people are going to go, oh yeah, that's that boxer. That's that big-time punching boxer. They'll know who he is. Deontay is a name. Deontay Wilder is an A-side in boxing. People love or hate him. It don't matter if you think this guy can't box. He can punch. He can punch. And the question is, can you take the fucking punch? So many people hate on this guy. He is an American. I love him. And I'd love to see him become champion. And I think if Fury was to fight Usyk, and depending on what he did, if he walked away from the sport or not, Deontay Wilder would be the best in the heavyweight division outside of Fury. It goes Fury, Wilder, Usyk, and Usyk's a fucking cruiserweight. That shows you how sad the heavyweight division is. And that's not me dogging Usyk. Don't get me wrong, Usyk is an incredible fucking fighter. He is good. But his size is not going to transfer over to a Fury. We watched him go, 24 rounds with Anthony Joshua, and he never even knocked him fucking down. Not one time did Usyk knock him down, right? Not once. He outboxed him, no doubt about that. He outboxed Anthony Joshua, but he never knocked him down. What do you think is going to happen against Fury, who's a bigger fighter and a more active fighter than Anthony Joshua? And he's not just going to let you maneuver around the fucking ring and outbox him out all night. He's a better boxer than Anthony Joshua, so let's get that straight. He's a better boxer than AJ is. So the fact is, what do you think that fight's going to be? 6'9" versus 6'3", okay? And a weight difference of almost maybe 100 fucking pounds? It's not going to go well for Usyk. He's going to get beat. And eventually he's going to get knocked out in that fight. Because Fury is going to do what Fury does. He's going to lean on you. And everybody's like, well, he's going to punch him to the body. Nobody's ever attacked Fury's body. Dude, Fury's a fucking beast. He's not 6'9", built like a goddamn stick, right? He is 6'9", built like a fucking tree, bro. Built like a fucking tree. If you put that dude behind me right now, he would fucking fill up half my goddamn room. All right? He's huge, bro. Like, I don't think you guys understand how big 6'9" is. Go stand next to a guy 6'9". I was in line at the grocery store the other day, and the guy behind me was 6'5", and I was like, holy fuck, I'm 5'9.5", almost 5'10" myself. This dude was 6'5", and I was like, holy shit, you're fucking huge, bro. You're huge. Like, he was a big motherfucker. So can you imagine 6'9"? If 6'4", 6'5" look big, Usyk would be big to me. Usyk at 6'3" is a big guy, but 6'9" is bigger. So in my opinion, it goes Fury, Wilder, Usyk, and then there it trickles down. I don't think Joshua's a top guy because he doesn't have the confidence. I saw it in his last fight. He come out with a twinkle in his eye. Then the next round, he looked like he lost his mama. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know if it's a mental thing with Joshua and he psychs himself out, or he thinks too fucking much during a fight, or he starts to feel sorry for the other goddamn guy that he's fighting, but he doesn't come out with the same momentum. He's an up and down, like almost as if he's bipolar. And that's not me joking about bipolar. You know, people are mental illness. It's just me observing and seeing what I see, and see him as a person and how he acts one round to the next. He's up and down, man. He's like a completely different fighter one round to the next. One round he comes out and he looks amazing, and then 3 rounds he looks like shit, like he didn't even come to box. So to me, AJ's not a top fighter. AJ's not going to take that Deontay Wilder fight. That's why he's trying to fight White right now. And Hearns just said that that they got rid of the rematch clause. White didn't want the rematch clause because for some reason, White thinks that if he can beat Anthony Joshua, then that will put him as a top contender for the Fury versus Usyk winner. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm sorry, White. You're not going to be the top contender at fucking all, bro. If you beat Anthony Joshua, you're not the top contender. I'm sorry, bro. You're not there. So in your fucking mind of minds, I don't know why you keep putting, why these older fighters like Chisora and White keep putting themselves up there as, you know, guys who are top contenders. At this point, they are not. And that's no knock on White, who is an incredible fighter. I mean, this guy's a kickboxer. He's a boxer. He all around, he is an incredible fighter. He would whoop my ass in real life, okay? But here right now, he can't kick my ass. But, he's over in the UK. But anyways, he's not a top contender right now. He's not a top 5. And in my opinion, he's not a top 10 guy. Chisora is not a top 10 guy. And if you think they are, that just shows how weak the heavyweight division is. And that's where, and in my opinion, it's the weakest division in boxing right now. The heavyweight division is absolutely the weakest division in boxing. Outside of Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Usyk, it trickles down. We watched Zhang beat Joyce, and that's going to be a rematch. And to me, Zhang is too slow. Yes, he's got a punch, but he's a slow fighter. Joyce is another slow fighter who doesn't move his head. And that, to me, doesn't match up against guys like but guys like Fury, Usyk, and Wilder. Those guys, they're too fast. They move too much. They're too active. And Zhang and them are almost like a sloth-type fighter. Same with Parker. Not impressed with Parker. Maybe you could put Daniel Dubai up there above those guys and put him in that conversation. I think Big Baby Jared Anderson, with a little bit more experience, could be one of the top contenders. But once again, he's probably 6'3", 6'4". That's not going to transition against 6'7" Wilder or 6'9" Fury. People don't understand, man, that these guys are big, bro. They're big. And even Anthony Joshua is pretty big. I think he's 6'6". He's a pretty big fighter. But he's not the skill level of Fury. And he doesn't have the power that Deontay Wilder has. Deontay Wilder, you guys can sit here and talk about how he's not a great boxer. But the man will knock you the fuck out. That is a fact. That's a fact. But I watched him talk about Ruiz. He called him a short little fucking T-Rex with short arms. He said, this is your only opportunity to make some money. If you're going to pass it up and be an idiot, then that's on you. And I get that. He's absolutely correct. He's the A side in that fight. And like I said, I had a guy trying to argue with me that Ruiz deserved 50-50. No fucking way in hell does he deserve 50-50, man. He's not bringing anything to the table. He doesn't have a belt. He doesn't have a following. That's a fact. Even the Mexican crowd doesn't fucking follow Ruiz, all right? Nobody follows this guy. If he had a following, then he wouldn't be getting dropped by promoters. And he had a meeting with Matchroom. They didn't want him. PBC dropped him. Nobody has him right now. He's kind of a free agent out on the market. So if that guy was bringing anything to the table, then somebody would have him signed up right now. And there would be no question. Top rank, PBC, somebody would sign this guy up. But they're not running to the table to sign him. So Wilder's crazy, man. I can imagine being around him in real life. He was doing a golf tournament. I guess some kind of celebrity, like some kind of golf thing he does for charity and all that, which is really cool to see him out there doing things like that. But he's kind of off the wall with what he says, and he can be one way 1 minute, and then he starts to go south, man, and starts talking fucking off the wall, and you're like, where the fuck is this guy going? So that's the thing with Wilder, man. But like I said, as an American, I back my American fighters, bro. Just like the British back their fighters, the Irish back their fighters, and every other country backs their fighters. I back my fighters, man. I love Spence. I love Crawford. I love Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, Deontay Wilder. I want to see these guys dominate the sport. Frank Martin. That's who I want to see win these belts because I'm, U.S. I'm rooting for our guys. Not saying I don't love other boxers because I love UK boxing. Like I'll spend my tomorrow, the minute I get out of work, the first thing I do is come home. I'm clicking on watching the fights over in the UK. UK always puts on the best undercard fights, man. The best undercard always comes from the UK, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Like I said, this whole show is just my opinion. Don't get too caught up in what the fuck I say, because it's just my opinion. If you disagree, you disagree, no big deal. That's how I look at it. But the fact is that I feel like the UK is always putting on great undercard fights. You get to see some young, up-and-coming fighters. Like I'm hearing Jessica Mascal is going to be fighting Sandy Ryan. That's a mistake for Sandy Ryan, man. I watched her. She's young, man. I love Sandy Ryan out of the UK. Good, great young woman in the women's division. She's good up and coming. But Jessica Mascal is a very experienced fighter, man. And I've watched Sandy Ryan probably since the beginning of her career. I had DAZN for the longest time, so I was watching her on there. They were broadcasting her. And I haven't watched her fight, I want to say, in a year. And the last time I watched her fight, she took an L to a veteran fighter, her first loss of her career. I saw a lot of flaws in her game, a lot of growth that needed to happen with Sandy Ryan. And I don't think taking this Jessica Mascal fight is the smartest thing right now for her. You don't want to get 2 losses early in your career. I would have steered her away from that fight. You know, let this young lady grow as a fighter. There's a lot to learn in the sport. She's got a lot of growth, and what I've seen from her fights, she's got a lot of flaws in her game, and a veteran fighter like Mascal is going to definitely bring out those flaws and take advantage of them. So that's going to be a tough night for, I think, Sandy Ryan, in my opinion, and I think she ends up taking a second L in that fight. Like I said, man, July is stacked, man. We'll get to talking about more about July in our next episode, but I wanted to get this one in tonight, and like I said, share my bourbon experience with you guys, man. Knob Creek, 50% 100 proof. This is some good stuff. Hope they don't get pissed off at me. Like I said, drink responsibly, be smart, don't be an idiot, don't get a DUI. Let's take one more shot together, man, and then we're going to call it a night. And, wrap it up, man. We're going to wrap it up. Wrap it up, buddy. Wrap it up. All right, let's take one more shot together, man, and call this a night, guys. Like I said, my name is Jeff. I am your host. This is Bourbon and Boxing. Let's wrap it up with one more shot. Thank you for joining me for my very first episode of Bourbon and Boxing. I hope to bring a little bit more to the table in the other episodes. Bring some different aspects to it and do a little bit, do some things different. But I think drinking some bourbon, relaxing, and talking boxing is one of my favorite things to do, man. So cheers. Thank you for joining me for my very first episode. And you guys have yourself a great night, man.
This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you ain't never cheated or been cheated on, then take off your boots, you rhinestone fraud. And outlaw songs, hard time, foolish pride, done me wrong. Flirting with the devil, getting right with the man. Ain't men paint songs, one night stands. You can keep your picket fence fantasies and put a cork in your high school memories. This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country. And it don't mean a thing if it don't pass the test. If you ain't never spent a single night in jail, then get another job and I'll see you in hell.